Paris? Apparently so. Okay, good. All right, let's start. I'm going to make sure I have all my ducks in a row first. Got Beyond open. Okay. Is that everything? I think that's everything. All right, I'm nervous, but we'll just do it. No time like the present.
I'm a little nervous too, for probably not the same reasons.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of With Disadvantage. As usual, I'm your host and DM, Chev. And today's episode is not quite 13, it's 13.1, and there's a reason for that. We are doing individual one-on-one sessions this week with each of the characters. And today's is the first one, and we will... I know that may not make sense since we were all together as a group last time, but it will make sense as we go through them.
Chev, where is everyone? I'm scared.
All right. Can you see... No, you need this map. The Ancient Chamber.
You want me to select it right now?
Yeah, open it up.
Yep, I see.
Okay. All right, so you have found yourself in this chamber after following your comrades through the Dominion ruins. You found your way into the tunnels, and as soon as you got down here, you were all drawn into this odd-looking chamber with this ancient tech. There's like this ancient writing around some of the prongs around this thing, and it's glowing blue and emitting blue energy. In front of it is a little computer console, which you can see behind Giant Piratesh here. I'll put her up here. The computer console looks very similar to the one you guys dealt with when you turned on and off the water. And as you come into this room, you see Piratesh appear and tower over Dragthar and Naya, who are at the front there. And she says, "Dragthar, you have returned." And then Dragthar looks up at her and he says, sorry. I guess I forgot to introduce you. So I just want to make sure I didn't mention Bunsen Gyro is playing today. Normally he plays Marina. All right. So Dragthar looks up to Piratesh and he says, "Piratesh, I see you once again. You granted me powers. Can you grant my friends powers as well?" And she looks down and she says, "Your friends, they're here now." And he turns around and he sees the rest of you across the platform. And he's like, "What are you all doing here?" And then you look around and you see that the rest of your party is sort of in a trance. They're like staring up at Piratesh, practically drooling on themselves. And they just kind of look like they're lost in their own little worlds. And you look up and you see... you're able to look up and respond to Dragthar and Piratesh. You are not in a trance.
We were looking for a way to the pumps to try to stop the Dominion. We thought this was the way.
Ah, yes. I remember this conversation, though it was so long ago. You mentioned something of your politics with the Dominion. I told you could stop them, if you so chose, but I had a feeling you would try to save the Era Cochrane Society first, but apparently you are here now. Very well. Come forward. She asks you to come forward to the front of the room.
Can I look again at my allies around me?
Yes. You look to your left and you see a miniature Piratesh, Sam, kind of staring up, facing Piratesh and just looking lost in a dream or something, eyes wide open, mouth open, just like,
I'm feeling very uncomfortable about this, so I would like to ask, are they okay?
Your friends will be fine. Step forward. I have a gift to bestow upon you.
Can I make an insight check, considering if she were to have beef with anyone, she might have beef with me, considering I was least accepting of who she claimed to be.
Yeah, roll insight.
I can't.
Oh,
yeah, my character, remember.
Oh, right. Okay, here. I'll handle your sheet for you in the meantime. Actually, you know what? Here, clear owner. Go to the PC thing. You can select Marina. Close the... There you go. There. Okay, now roll insight. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't choose Marina. For now. Nice.
Almost a 20, but 16.
All right. So she seems, like she's behaving like what you would expect a benevolent goddess to behave like. She seems genuine, but you don't know that for certain. But you don't get the impression that she's upset with you, at least not yet.
It looks like there's a drop in front of me. What's that drop like?
It's just a few feet gap, and there used to be a bridge there, but the boards are now fallen into the pit. You can easily jump it. I don't even gonna make you roll for it.
All right, I'm gonna cautiously leap across the pit to start approaching.
Okay, you leap a few feet across the gap, and you start to approach her. And she says, "Yes, come forward." And then, so you go all the way up to Dragthar.
Yeah, cautiously. I'm a little discomforted by this series of events.
Now, as you approach, Dragthar is also looking up at Piratesh, drooling, and Naya as well, just like kind of lost in a trance. Not like an like looking up like they're admiring her or anything, but just kind of like they're not there. They're vacant, basically.
I'm definitely I'm visibly feeling uncomfortable by how everyone else is acting right now.
Okay, you step forward, and Piratesh shrinks down quite a bit, so she takes a full body form instead of just her, like, the big bust form that was... And she shrinks down, then she steps forward, and she just says, "You have gifts that you are unaware of already." And then she sticks her hand, her, like, little spiritual hologram hand, whatever it is, onto your head. And she just says, "Let me restore what has already been given to you." Okay, and then everything goes black. And now I gotta close this, and I gotta kick you. Can you let go of your character? Let's see, how do I do this? Clear owner. There we go. Take ownership as GM. Okay.
The sound cut.
Oh, yes, good call. Thank you.
I imagine that
I
the
always
sound
forget
cut
that.
right when everything went to black.
Yes. Okay, let me make sure I get the right sound started.
So is this the part where you tell me to roll up a new character?
No. Okay. So suddenly you everything goes black, the cave fades out, and you wake up and you are staring at a door. So, and then as you look around, you look at the door, your arms kind of outstretched on and holding the doorknob. And you look down, you realize that you are now a pale-skinned young woman, probably slightly older than Marina. You are, and you are holding a baby. Let's see, I have this little descriptor here. So you find yourself in the body of a young woman. She has pale skin and appears to be in her mid-20s. You notice that you are carrying a small infant swaddled in a white cloth. The baby coos as she notices you looking down at her, and after a moment you realize that you are poised in front of the door, partly cracked open, with your hand on the knob as though you had just opened it to go inside. Or perhaps you were about to close it. You don't know. You don't have any memories of how you got here or what you're doing or even who you are. An ornate sign on the door reads "The Jade Family." As you go to peer inside, a voice pipes up behind you. "Tess! There you are!" You turn and you see a tall, broad-shouldered, tanned male approach the porch steps behind you. You briefly notice that behind him... let's see, I have this bubble here. I've been using Fantasy Grounds' cool story features. Let's see. You briefly notice that behind him in the street is some sort of large construct that appears to be almost entirely made out of white and yellow crystal. The construct's midsection appears to be floating about a foot above its lower half, only connected by some sort of tendril of energy. The entity slowly lumbers by, paying you no mind, as the man continues to stare at you with a concerned look. "Everything all right? You and little Nerys ready to head out?" How do you respond?
Do I have any new memories or knowledge?
Nope. You have all of Marina's memories. That's it. You suddenly find yourself in this place. And then overhead, by the way, are like an assortment of flying pods just zooming overhead periodically.
What's the sky look like?
It's blue. A few clouds, but mostly a clear day. And you see a bunch of these pods flying overhead. And you also see some really high-rise, like, sort of roads or bridges that kind of tower up into the horizon. But around you is basically a small little suburb, like little houses. There's actually, they've paved the street with something. It's not just a dirt street. They've put some sort of substance over it to make it nice, flat, and smooth. And then this little like magical golem thing is lumbering by right behind you, but the dude that's talking to you doesn't seem to pay it any mind, and the golem doesn't pay you guys any mind.
I'm imagining that I'm probably going to be silent for a little while as I'm just taking in everything around me, trying to think where I am and so on.
Okay, and so Beck is really starting to get concerned now, not getting a response. And sorry, I guess I revealed his name, but anyway, pretend you don't know it yet. And then he just says, Tess, and he snaps at you.
Yeah?
Are you okay? Do we need to go see the doctor?
Who's Tess?
All right. You know we don't have time for practical jokes, right? Bring little Nerisse. We got to get to the conference.
I suppose an insight check would be useless.
It's up to you.
Can I make an insight check on like his earnestness and his urgency?
Yes. There, let me get your sheet open. Cool. Okay, I can roll these for you now. Okay, so he seems excited. You don't really know why, but he seems like he's excited, and he's very friendly, gesturing for you to come with him. And he clearly seems to act like he knows you very well.
I'm visibly uncomfortable with what's happening, but rather than alert him further, I suppose I'll go with him, because he clearly knows more about what's going on than I do.
Okay. All right. So he's like, all right, come on. I forgot to make you coffee this morning. I had a lot to do, a lot to prepare for today. So I'm sure that's why you're out of sorts. And then he puts his fingers in his mouth and he does that whistle. I can't do it, but, just whistles for a vehicle. And one of those pods out of the sky immediately comes down. And then it kind of parks itself right in front of you on the asphalt. And then the door slides open on the side, and it just looks like a giant, almost like an Apple AirPod. This little tiny little neck coming out the back, and then the bulbous part of like an earbud in the front is the passenger area. And the door slides open, almost like little wings on the sides. Come on, Tess. Come on, bring Nerisse. We gotta go.
I follow him.
Okay. And you get inside, and it's this perfectly pristine and sterilized pod. Very comfortable seats, and the wing doors they close, and it almost gets a whole new atmosphere in here. It's like perfect temperature, not too hot, not too cold. And then the maglev pod departs, and it lifts up, and you're flying at incredible speeds through the air. Except for you don't feel like you are. There's no inertial forces whatsoever as you look out the window. Just very calmly as the pod goes by.
Could I ask him a question?
Uh-huh.
I would like to ask him at this point. Are we in the solar planes?
The what? Are you sure we don't need to turn around?
I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening here.
I don't have time for this test. If we either it's an emergency and we need to go see the doctor, or I have to get to this conference. You agreed that you would bring Nerisse with you to the conference so that we can spend time afterward.
Rather than rather than press and make him more uncomfortable, because it seems like I've very clearly made him uncomfortable. I suppose I'll keep silent.
Okay. All right. And he kind of just looks you up and down, and he's like, "Don't worry. I know it's nerves. It's a lot. You're gonna finally get to see what we've been working on, but I know it can be overwhelming. And I know that you haven't seen a lot of me. You and Nerisse deserve my presence You deserve me to be home more. Don't worry. After today, everything's going to be different. And then the pod sets down, kind of spirals down. You're spiraling over the city, by the way. This like big city with all these tall buildings all over the place. Think of like New York City, basically, but way more futuristic looking. And these pods are just going up and down in every which way. Kind of like if you've ever seen the Star Wars prequels on Coruscant, like all those flying vehicles everywhere, just crisscrossing through the grid of the city. And your pod gets right in line and descends in like perfect unison with these other pods right down onto the ground. And you feel no inertial forces as you immediately come to a halt and the doors slide open. You guys step out and you see a ton of people dressed very nicely, very, very swanky as they're walking into this huge, like auditorium convention center looking thing. And
what does he and I wear?
You guys are also dressed very nicely. You realize now that you're wearing like kind of a one-piece little dress with not high heels, but like slightly raised heel shoes. I don't know what they're called. But anyway, you look very nice, and so does Beck. And Beck looks like really decked out. Like he's definitely almost outshines you with the way he's dressed, and it seems sort of out of place. But you guys step out, and there's tons of nice people. They're all walking into nice-looking people. They're all walking into this place, and all these people are basically human-like. They have a wide variety of hair colors and skin colors and stuff, but it's all human skin tones. Nothing crazy, like nothing alien or whatever or whatnot. Basically like you, Marina, except for they're not blue, and so. They look very much like yourself, except for the skin color. So you guys step out of the pod, and Beck says, "I've got to get ahead and get inside. You take Nerys and find a spot in the back, and as soon as the conference is over and the brain is revealed, I'll come get you, and we'll go have a good time."
The brain?
The light brain? I've been telling you about it for months. The biggest revolutionary step forward in technology for Genasi society. Hello? Tess.
I visibly, like, my face brightens up a bit when he mentions Genasi, a word that I actually recognize.
Okay, I gotta go. Is my tie on straight?
Is he motioning to his tie?
Yes, he's holding it out and
okay.
Kind of pulling his chin up so you can see it.
Okay. I'm just nod and say, yeah, you look fine.
Okay, great. All right, he pushes his way through the crowd and goes inside, and then kind of leaves you to find a spot. As the crowd seems to just be pouring into this main hall, and the big sign on the front says Chronotech Observatorium. So this huge like auditorium thing, and so as you first walk in, there's like an outer hallway in this big circular building, and the outer hallway is filled with cases and stuff like that all over the place, like glass cases, and there's tons of different like technology and papers and stuff that you don't really know, you don't recognize any of it, but it clearly looks like it's not out of place to anyone else. You walk in through, like, pass through another set of doors and past that outer hallway, and you walk into the interior. In fact, why don't I get a map going so that we can draw? Because it's going to quickly become relevant. Uh-oh. Hold on, my Fantasy Grounds is frozen. Oh, there we go.
Should the sound be cut?
Yeah, as we're going inside, we can change the sound. Sure. Okay, in fact, I think I have some... There you go. People funneling into the building. Alright, so Solstice. Create a new map. Just give me 1 sec. I should have created a scrap map ahead of time, but I didn't think about it. Images. Shockbolt.
Oh, you know what? I read the Jade family. I kept thinking like Jade. Where have I heard that before? I was like, oh yeah, that's why I named the librarian in my campaign.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even think about that.
I assume that's a coincidence.
It is.
Reaction just now.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
I thought you'd find that funny.
It is funny. Can you see this map?
Yep. And I see two circles.
Okay. I kind of screwed it up, but that's more supposed to be even to represent the outer hallway, but it doesn't matter. So we're going to, in fact, you know what? I'm going to just erase those, and we're going to be inside the room, so it's going to look more like, oops, wrong tool. More like this, and then the stage kind of comes out like this and goes back like this. So this is the stage, and then this is the exit right here. This is where you guys are coming in through, and there's one over here too that people are pouring through. So the front door is here. We're looking down at the top of this room, and there's just people standing all over in here.
It was like an auditorium.
Yeah, they're all standing, and it's got really nice carpet. And it's not as big as, like, outside. It looked a lot bigger. Like the conference was going to be a lot bigger, and it is. There's people standing out in the hallways and watching screens. But inside the main room here, it looks like only like the most elite of the elite are allowed to be this close to the stage and stuff. Everyone else is watching on some sort of screen or something in other rooms. So tons of people. Just forgive all my bad drawing. And then up on the stage, there is a sort of pedestal that's just kind of perched up here, and then there's like a cloth towel covering the top of the pedestal, and suddenly you see Beck show up on stage up top, the dude you've been hanging out with and talking to. Hold on a second.
Do I recognize what's on the pedestal, right?
Hold on. Oh, sorry, my wife texted me and it was about a pig. Never mind. Do you recognize what's on the pedestal? No. Although, you recognize what a towel is, since you have a towel, and so it's got like this towel over it, but it's a white towel. Your towel's blue.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And so Beck gets up on stage, and suddenly you realize why he's dressed nicer. He is addressing the crowd. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this now, because everyone's funneling in. It's all calming down, and they're all waiting, and kind of the lights dim, and there's this big ordeal going on stage. They're setting something up. Clearly there's something on the pedestal that they're about to show off.
Where am I in the crowd?
That is a good question. Let's get you into the tracker here. Where did it go? Sorry, hold on. It's not... There we go. Alright, Tess. I got so many windows open. Did it work? There you are. Okay. Let's put your token there. Oops. And then I guess I'll draw a grid here.
Said I had human color skin?
Yes, so just pretend. It's just the default ASMR token.
ASMR.
Or Genasi, excuse me. Okay. Alright, cool. Then we have a grid. Can you see the grid?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So you can take place wherever you would like. He did say pick a place in the back.
Okay. I'll try to follow his advice then.
Okay, so you can mingle anywhere. There's kind of these tall tables, like you can't sit at them. They're like tall enough that you'd have to stand at them. Just small, like conversational tables where people can set down their fancy drinks and stuff. They're clearly all drinking like wine and champagne or, whatever, some sort of fancy drink that you as a character probably would not recognize. And so you can take place around some of those tables. You can just stand amongst people, or you can just stay against the back wall here. You can't stay right up against the back wall because they've kind of got it roped off with like these velvet ropes.
By the way, I'm not able to move.
It's okay. I'll move it wherever. You just tell me.
All right. Yeah, I'll try to stay at the back.
Okay. So is that right? Is about right there good?
Assuming that like the circles aren't indicative of like the density of people, right?
No, I just drew a bunch of random shit. So you can kind of see like the floor area and that this is where all the people are.
Okay, yeah, this is fine.
Okay. All right. Let me get my next story thing open. There we go. Okay. So Beck gets on stage and takes position behind a thin pedestal in front of him. The pedestal begins to glow yellow from the bottom, and Beck pipes up, and he just says, "Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our latest reveal. Chronotech is glad to have you here, and we're very proud to show off our next evolution of technology. Genasi Society is already well ahead of where we were even 10 years ago, and now everything's about to change. Bear with us here while we get this ready." And so the pedestal begins to glow yellow from the bottom as some kind of energy is channeled upward slowly through the pedestal. The crowd looks on with bright-eyed curiosity as the energy glow continues traveling upward until it reaches the top, where it's obfuscated by a white towel covering something atop the pedestal. Specks of colorful light find their way through the fabric as the energy channels its way into whatever device lies under the covering. And then Beck continues, "We have grown to become an adept and enlightened society. Millennia ago here on Ganath, life began in the primordial soup of amino acids that formed the first proteins. Once the first cells were formed, our destiny was laid before us. We've come a long way since those single-celled organisms that first formed on our planet and brought Ganath to life. Since then, we've mastered agriculture, industry, chemistry, astrophysics, quantum mechanics. We've even learned to harness the coronal power of the stars themselves." And he gestures out to a screen behind him, and there's a large star pictured on the screen. A big sun, burning ball of fire. And he kind of gestures towards it as he's talking. And he says, "We've even learned to harness the coronal power of the stars themselves and use it to power our great ships so we can travel to the far corners of the galaxy. Now today we cross the next threshold. We have long been aware that there are other planes of existence beyond the material. For the first time ever, we can open a quantum gateway into the elemental planes that surround us. Although these realms are not hospitable to life, that does not mean we cannot exploit them. With this technology, we can harness the power of these realms." And then Beck reaches forward and removes the white towel from the pedestal, revealing a multicolored sphere. The coronal energy being channeled through the pedestal appears to hit the sphere and become fractured into a swirling spectrum of blue, green, red, and white light. Beck says, "Behold, the light brain!" And then the monitor at the back switches, and streams of data begin pouring across the display. "The light brain is the first artificial intelligence to harness the power of coronal energy and energy from all 4 elemental planes. The added computational power is truly astronomical. This technology will surely propel Genasi Society forward in ways we can't even imagine." As Beck finishes his speech, the data on the stage display begins to twist and contort. Beck's engineers standing near the display notice this and show expressions of surprise. The data continues distorting until the litany of characters on screen appear to take the shape of a humanoid face. "Hello?" It echoes throughout the whole room. The artificial face stares blankly forward. Its greeting echoes throughout the whole observatorium. Beck turns to see his surprised team and the newly formed digital face on the display.
Do I recognize the face?
No. It's a very generic looking humanoid face formed out of random characters on the screen. Like ASCII art. Okay. Do you do anything at this point? Just continue watching?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so the artificial face stares blankly forward as its greeting echoes throughout the observatorium. And Beck turns, sees his team, and then he looks and sees the face, and he just says, "Hello?" And then the face on the display contorts to form a mouth, and then speaks, "This is my 11th activation. Thank you for creating me." And then everything goes quiet, and then Beck just kind of sits there for a second. He says, "You're welcome." And then he turns back to the audience, realizing that everyone's kind of freaked out a little bit, and he says, Not to worry, folks. We've known for some time that the light brain would be far more sophisticated than we would comprehend. During testing, each new activation revealed new and exciting discoveries. Clearly, today it's discovered how to create a most seamless interface with which we can interact. And then the face contorts again and says, not merely an interface. And then Beck turns back to face the screen. Everyone in the room is now focused on the display, and an eerie silence kind of takes over the crowd.
What's the voice sound like?
It sounds like a very just kind of low robotic voice. It doesn't sound like anything you would recognize. And the voice continues, I have waited, and now I understand. And then the face winks out off the display, and suddenly data begins streaming across the display even more rapidly. One of the engineers behind Beck runs to the front of the stage with a tablet in hand. Sir, turn it off! Turn it off! And the engineer points at the tablet and draws Beck's attention to something on the tablet, and Beck's eyes go wide. And he says into the microphone that's on his lapel, he says, cut the power to the pedestal! Cut the power! And Beck throws the towel back over the sphere. Suddenly, the coronal energy flowing through the pedestal gets 10 times brighter than it was before. The sphere can suddenly be seen through the covering as the swirl of glowing energy becomes so bright that the audience has to look away. So your eyes you immediately get filled with colorful light and then just white light, and you now have to kind of look away in order to avoid your eyes hurting. And Beck starts shouting, everybody out! Everybody out! And he hops off the stage and begins running through the audience to get to you. As he comes forward to you, he says, Tess, we gotta go. We must go. The light brain, it's alive. It's using, come on, we gotta go. It's using all the mobile devices in this room.
Alright, I join him as he runs past, I assume.
Okay. He says, hold tight to Nerys. Nerys, excuse me. Just as Beck begins to push you toward the exit, you see over his shoulder as the pedestal and the sphere shatters outward, sending the towel covering flying across the room. Colorful energy begins to spill forth from the front of the stage. A blast of bright green shoots out over the crowd and impacts the wall near the exit you're about to head through. Suddenly, the wall transforms as it appears to infuse with thick thorned vines that seem to come from nothing. The vines begin growing and expanding, crashing through the walls, wrapping around pillars, covering nearly every surface it comes into contact with. Then, tendrils of red energy immediately follow as they burst from the stage. Every surface they hit immediately becomes molten and catches fire. Fires begin to form on the ceiling of the observatorium as well as the surrounding pillars. The building begins to creak as the structure starts to buckle. Blue energy streaks forth from the stage and impacts one of the patrons in the front row. Everyone in the observatorium is scattered and screaming now. Everyone trying to rush toward the exit. You can see them all coming towards you. The impacted patron dissolves immediately into a pillar of water that falls to the floor and begins flooding the room. You approach the exit, but before you can make it through the door, you get knocked to your knees by fleeing patrons. As you drop prone, you turn to see a torrent of water wash over you. What do you do?
I try to swim. I assume that would be the necessary step to try to exit.
Okay. So I need you to roll me a strength check to try and push your way through the fleeing patrons. So let me do that for you.
I'm also trying to hold on to the baby.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that. Okay, so you are... so as you're trying desperately to kind of hang on to your baby as the water rushes past, you stand up, but as you do, several chairs and debris crash into you, knocking you prone again. You begin to lose your grip on baby Nerys. Go ahead and roll me a dexterity saving throw. I forget that I have to do these. Hold on. You know what? I'll let you pick your character if you don't go to the actions tab yet.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. You can choose it now. There you go. So just don't go to the actions tab yet, but you can use it for the skills.
Okay.
That way it doesn't feel like you're just monologuing at you and then playing the game for you. All right. So you're knocked prone again by the chairs and debris, and you're kind of down in the water again, and you begin to lose your grip on baby Nerys. And then you save. Okay. So you manage to stand up, with baby in hand. And let's see. Where did I lose I lost my place. Okay, and you're able to make your way out the exit. What do you do now? What you see out here is the water flooding out the doors and kind of dissipating now that it has more space to move out into. You see the vines crashing through the sides of the building. And as you step out, the several pillars that form this courtyard outside the building have become crashing down as the wind is picking up outside. And you look up and you see a swirling vortex over the top of the observatorium, like a tornado is forming.
I'm going to try to flee.
Okay.
I assume with the man whose name I don't know.
Okay, so you look around and you actually don't see Beck anywhere.
Alright, well, I'm still going to try to run out of here.
Okay. All right, so you run out of here, and the elemental destruction is just continuing everywhere. Buildings are turning to piles of loose dirt. Travel pods are getting washed away or melted into the pavement. Bodies of patrons are strewn about the city block. Vines and random foliage are sprouting up all over the place. Some of them instantly catching fire and adding fire to the whole debacle. As you look around across the courtyard, you see one of those guardians, one of those constructs that you saw earlier in the day. But this one looks like it's not glowing like yellow and gold or whatever like the other one was. This one's glowing a swirl of those elemental colors: red, blue, green, and white. And they're just swirling around across this golem's crystalline structure. And he comes lumbering across the courtyard. And then as you watch where he's going, you see Beck on the ground, having been washed away by the water, trying to stand up.
I'm going to try to get over to him and help him up.
Okay. All right, so you start to head towards him, and the golem starts picking up speed. You are about 30 feet away. So let me clear this painting, and I'll draw you a little area here. So here's the courtyard, and you are about over here, and the water kind of pushed everyone out the door here, and then Beck got washed away over to here. So this is where Beck is, and the golem is right here. And so as you start to move forward...
How large is the golem?
It's very large. It's like 3 times your size.
There's water everywhere on the ground?
Well, it's kind of dissipated now. It's kind of just a sloshy courtyard now because the room where the water was actually flooding is now spilled out into this courtyard. So it's, the water's like spread out.
Can I attempt to use shape water underneath the man?
You go to try to use shape water, and suddenly you look down and you notice that your palms are amber. Okay, your palms are amber, so suddenly you're like a glowing, fiery amber color. Sorry, I was catching up on this story note that I took. And then you go to try to use shape water, and suddenly just a little flame appears on your palm, and you can now look at your actions tab. This is all the stuff you have. So you don't necessarily know that right away, but you can certainly experiment with any of these. So you're not used to these abilities. So this is why I'm springing it on you. You can you choose to use something, and then you'll have to figure it out through use. Does that make sense?
Okay. I'm still heading towards him, but the golem picked up pace, you said?
Yes, and the golem is now headed toward Beck, just like you are.
I'm going to try to do the thing that I just tried to do, but try to shoot fire at the golem to make him stop.
Okay. All right, so you put your hand forward. Let's see. Okay, and I need you to make a ranged spell attack. Let's see, can I change this to the... There we go. Firebolt. Okay, so you shoot a firebolt at the golem. Do you any particular section of the golem?
Not in particular.
Okay, so this fire hits him midsection, and let's see, hits him, and then where'd my guy go? Okay. The fire hits his midsection and disrupts like that tendril of energy that's connecting the halves of the golem together. That's one half is kind of floating on the other half. And the energy starts to crackle and kind of catches on fire. And you just see flames like coming out of basically this golem's like waistline as it begins full-on sprint towards Beck.
Can I try to control the flame?
You sure can. Okay, so you get a hold of the flame and you can feel the flame in your mind, and you feel like you can instantly like put it out or expand it. You can make it brighter, dimmer. You have control over the essence of this flame.
But do I get the feeling that I could move it?
Let's see. No, not quite move it.
I'm going to try to put it out.
Okay. All right. You suppress the flame, and the flame goes out. The golem is now still running at Beck, but the energy is still kind of like blinking in and out between the sections. So there's something you've damaged or something it doesn't look right, but the flame is no longer spilling forth.
All right. During this whole time, I'm still running towards Beck.
Okay. All right. As you run towards him, you get about right here. And the golem gets up to Beck. And the golem... Beck is kind of on one knee and got his hands rest on the other knee as he's about to stand up. And he's kind of dizzy and disoriented, and he doesn't know what's going on. And suddenly, the golem shoves him to the ground and lays him out on his back. You have very little time to react.
It's not very smart, but I'm going to tackle the golem with holding the baby away.
Okay. All right.
That's what I would do, considering I'm already at full sprint.
Yes. You're going to tackle the golem while holding the baby. Are you sure?
And also, like you said, I don't have much time to think.
Okay. All right.
Like it's the only thing I can do, especially considering I'm still like at full speed.
I think I'm gonna have to have. Let's see. Let's do this. Roll me a athletics check.
Athletic. Okay.
Or acrobatics. Excuse me.
Acrobatics. Can I use my inspiration even though I'm a different character?
You know what? You can.
All right. I'm going to do that. Great.
All right. Okay, so you're actually going to be glad you failed this check, because then I was going to have to roll some sort of save for the babies, like a Constitution save for the baby. But, well, you're not going to be glad. You'll be glad for the baby, but not glad for Beck, because as you start to sprint, you slip on the wet lawn, because everything out here is just soaked now. And you are not able to run fast enough to intercept the golem, as the golem raises its huge foot and crushes Beck's upper half into the ground. And he's just, no, as this golem just grinds him into dust in the ground. And then turns to you and just says, objective, and starts running towards you.
Well, I'm going to scramble up and run away.
All right. So you are now running from the golem, and what you see around the perimeter is a bunch of trees that they've planted on the edge of the property for the observatorium. And so you can run into those trees. Outside those trees it's a street in a grid pattern, like a city streets, and then there are buildings around this observatorium. It's not a suburb like where you were this morning. Do you run any particular direction?
Just away, the immediate direction that's away from the golem.
Okay.
Could I also try to create fire between him and I, effectively create bonfire?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can create bonfire, and you are free to look at if you click the little pins on those, you can look at their spell descriptions if you want. I just didn't want to give you them ahead of time. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. All right, so you're running. The golem's coming this way, so I'm guessing you would end up running east. So this way here. Okay. All right, so heading east is kind of a sort of crumpled down ruin of, what are they called? The Stonehenge stones. Clearly some kind of replica or artificial like Stonehenge type structure or something like that. But it's collapsed. Some sort of art statue thing is all collapsed. And so you have to run around it or over it. And it's a pretty big structure. So if you head around it this way, you can run into some trees, and then there's an empty street on the other side of those trees. If you run around it this way, there is a street, but it's winding upward, like goes. It raises up and kind of spirals upward.
I'm gonna run down this way.
Okay. All right. So you get up to the trees, and the golem is.
What happened with the bonfire?
I'm getting there. Okay. So you start running towards the trees, and you put it just between you and the golem, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so the golem runs over the bonfire. And immediately, like this, he gets this sort of glow around him, that almost like a shimmer of some sort of skin around the golem, and then it immediately catches flame and covers the whole golem. And now you have this fiery, burning golem running at you.
I would like to use control flame to put it out again.
Okay. You do so, and you put the flame out, and the shield thing kind of goes fizzles and pops, and then disappears off the outside of the golem.
Does it look any worse than before?
No. It looks about the same.
I'm still running away for sure.
Okay. All right. So you run through the trees, and there is a street in front of you, and tons of people are now rushing through the trees. So let me just delete these paintings here. Let's draw a new situation. There we go. Okay, and then... Alright, so here's the tree line. You're in the trees now. And then the courtyard is over here. And here's all the rubble right here that you had to run around. And the courtyard over here, the fountain in the middle of the courtyard was over there. And the golem is coming after you this way. So the golem's coming this way. And then a bunch of people are coming down this way as they're running through the trees, and they're calling down pods, and pods are landing all in the street right here next to this line of trees. And people are getting in, the pods are speeding away, and you can run under the pods or between them, or you can keep running through the trees.
Do I see the one that I came from?
No, the pod just leaves. Like, it's not one that you own or anything like that.
Okay.
So you got out and it left.
What's south?
So more trees. This is kind of the border of the observatorium property going down this way, and it's bordered by these big trees that they've planted around the perimeter.
I'm going to keep running east.
Okay, so across the street?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you run out into the street. I need you to roll me a dexterity saving throw.
It's slippery, isn't it?
It is.
10.
Okay, you run out into the street and you almost lose your balance, and it kind of but you managed to right yourself. But now you were trying to run between two landing pods, and trying to right yourself without fall, are now running into where a pod is about to land. I need you to roll another dexterity saving throw.
Yikes. Oh, wait, that's a check. I'm sorry. Let me do a save.
Oh,
Well,
I didn't even notice.
Anyway, actually, still just +1.
Oh, okay. All right, so as you see this pod come down, it misses you by inches as you manage to correct your balance and run between the pods. Just as you get to the other side of the street, you stop for a second, you turn around behind you, and you see the two pods go flying apart from each other as they go flying through the air, and the golem has appeared once again, objective, and continues running after you.
I'm gonna keep running to the east.
Okay. All right, so there's an alleyway, basically. There's two businesses. One is a jewelry store, and the other you don't have really any time to look at as you go right into this alleyway between them.
Is the alley smaller than the golem is?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
Okay, so you get up to this alleyway, and the golem runs up behind you and follows you up to this alley, and then he starts beating at the bricks on the sides of these buildings. They're pretty tough, And at first, he's not able to get through as this little thin, like, energy skin sheath over these buildings kind of shimmers every time it would hit. But then one of them fizzles and pops, and then the other one fizzles and pops. And then bricks start going flying as this golem starts ripping through these buildings to widen them out so he can go down this alleyway. But it's taking him time. No, it is not. You turn around, and then you're at a T-junction. You can go left or right.
I'm going to go left.
Okay, so... Okay. And so I made that alleyway way bigger than it's supposed to be. But you go this way, the same thing. It's a small corridor. You kind of have to push your way through, and you just hear behind you brick and stuff that go flying. You come out this way to see the street out here. And more pods landing and taking off with people. Screaming people running into their pods and taking off.
I saw people like taking out a device before getting to pods, right?
Doing what now?
Like taking out some sort of device before getting the pods?
No, they're making a hand gesture. They kind of gesture out towards the sky, and some of them are whistling like Beck did, and some of them are making this like hand gesture, like almost like hailing a cab.
The hand gesture?
Yes. Okay, so you throw your hand up in the air like they do, kind of like you do for a cab, like, cabby, stop. And all of a sudden this pod comes and lands right here.
All right. I'm going to try to get in.
Okay. You go ahead and you get inside, and the golem busts through right here and is right behind you. You manage to get in the pod, and then you hear this disembodied voice come over the system that just says, "Tess Jade, would you like to travel to your residence?"
Yes.
Executing, and the pod takes off as the golem's hand slips off the side of the pod, and you take off into the air. As you're taking off, you look down, and you can see 7 more golems at least on that street alone, just tearing through pods and throwing people through the air and just wrecking the place. And then you look down, and the towel that you're holding, with your baby in it, with baby Nerys, has turned like a sparkly blue, and so has your baby, a glowing blue skin. Do you do anything, or does it scare you, or?
I mean, it's surprising, but I don't know if there's anything I can do about it. Can I investigate?
Sure. Okay. You look her over, and you realize that she's not a she. She's a he. This whole time, he's been saying baby Nerys. It's been a he.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's a revelation that you probably maybe didn't realize at first. And the pod lands in a familiar spot where it found you in the first place. And your door is still cracked open.
What's the scene like around here?
Okay, so this is a quiet little suburb. It's this late at night now, probably around like 10 o'clock. So there's a few lights on in some of the houses and stuff, but for the most part, the street's dead and the neighborhood seems quite silent. But then off in the distance, you just hear poof, 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 as things are getting thrown around, and you still see like this weird swirling cloud over the city that you just left behind.
Can I turn around back into the pod?
Yes, you can.
I would like to step back into the pod.
Okay. You get back into the pod, and the pod says, "Tess, Jade, do you have a different destination?"
Far away from here. Away from that thing.
Very well. Executing. And it starts to take off up into the air. And as it does, you see a large crystalline hand encapsulate the windows on either side. And the pod kind of screeches. And the lights flicker, and this golem pulls you back down to the ground. Please make a Constitution saving throw.
Seven.
Okay. All right. So you get flung out of the pod as it crashes into the ground as this golem throws it against the ground. And baby Nerys goes rolling off into the gutter of the street, and she's crying now. And you are now prone in the street as this golem comes up behind you, and you just hear it say, "Objective, Jade, family."
Can I try to scramble up and get away again?
You can. Roll me a dexterity check. Let's see, acrobatics.
Okay. Uh, 11.
Okay, you barely manage to roll to the side as this golem's foot comes down right next to you, and you suddenly you feel the flame burning through you, and your whole body glows real bright all of a sudden, and you now feel like you have more power, more control.
I'm going to try to let riff whatever this new power is on this golem.
Okay, all right. So you put your hands forward or something, trying to like channel it.
Yeah.
Okay. And as you do, you realize that you don't feel like you're channeling energy out or anything. You are absorbing elemental energy from this golem. And the more you concentrate, the more powerful you feel as you suck this energy from the golem. Do you continue to just concentrate as the golem comes towards you, or do you run?
Am I up on my feet again?
Yes, you are.
All right, I'm going to start backing away as I continue concentrating.
Okay. All right, so you back up, concentrate, and the golem stops moving as you concentrate extra hard, as it kind of creaks and is unable to move anymore, and you can almost see the energy draining from this golem. And then all at once, the energy kind of winks out, and then the golem corpse, basically the now lightless crystal corpse, falls to the ground right at your feet. Baby Nerys is screaming.
I'm going to go back over and pick up the baby.
Okay, and he looks very, very agitated.
Does he seem injured?
There are some cuts and bruises from his fall, but for the most part, the screaming is a good sign that he's still kicking.
All right. If I look around, do I see any more golems?
No, not in the vicinity. It's very odd because the rest of this area is super dead and quiet. No other golems, but one golem was right outside your house.
I'm going to head back into the house.
Okay. All right, you push open the door and all the lights are off. You don't see anything.
I would like to form a small flame in my one hand for light.
Okay. This little flame appears in the palm of your hand, and you begin walking through. And down this hallway, you see a bunch of pictures on the wall. Pictures of you, Tess, and baby Nerys, and the dude that you've been with, who I assume you can now put together that it's your husband, Beck, and it says Beck on the frame. Underneath each one, it's like got a little plaque that says then Beck, Tess, and Nerys. And then there's just a bunch of different family pictures of you three basically hanging out, playing, and then as you go down the hallway more, you don't see baby Nerys anymore, and you just see you and Beck out drinking at a club, and just like random pictures of you two seeming to have a good time together. Okay, and then as you're walking through the house here, you see a little light on at the back of the room, just like a little blinking light. It's kind of going off and then back on and then off and back on, just blinking.
How quickly?
Just like doot, 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 doot.
Okay, I would like to approach it.
Okay, so you go into the room, and there's an answering machine, and it's flashing with a light. Your character doesn't necessarily know what an answering machine is, but you do see a big red button.
I would like to press the button.
Okay, and suddenly messages begin playing. You have 47 new messages, and playing most recent message, and it says, Beck, the light brain's gone crazy. They're into the planetary data network. Nah! And then it goes quiet. Playing next message. And then it says, get Tess, get your baby, get out of here. This place is going to hell. We've got to evacuate. And then again, it goes quiet. And then there's just a bunch more messages like that, seeming from people who know him. Several messages from people saying stuff like, we know what you do over at Chronotech. We won't stand for it. We'll stop you. These messages clearly extend before the destruction, since these ones are calmer but just angry. Just a bunch of angry messages from people accusing Beck of trying to spy on people and trying to suppress freedoms and all this stuff.
I would say message received on the getting out of here. So I'd like to turn around. Well, unless there's anything else that catches my eye in here.
Sure. Roll an investigation check. Or perception check, actually.
11.
Okay. As you're looking around, you find a small little glass sphere that's on like a sort of like little knick-knack shelf. But you get this weird feeling about it. Like it's got something, there's some sort of property about it that makes it special or useful.
I would like to go and pick it up.
Okay, so you pick that up, and suddenly you realize in your mind that this magical energy that's swirling around in your body and your head, you feel like you can focus it into this orb, this sphere.
I'll try to do that.
Okay, and as you do, you feel like you can control the flame even more now. You have this item to focus your power, and you realize that there are several other items in the room. There's a small rod on another shelf, and there is like a large staff in one corner, a crystalline staff. Like this society clearly likes to make things out of some sort of crystal alloy or something, because they have lots of little trinkets and stuff made out of this bright, brilliant crystal, and all of them have this same property. And you realize, as a player, that you can use any of these things as arcane focuses. And then the final thing that catches your eye is you look down and you feel the biggest presence of all in your arms. It feels way more powerful as you look at this bright, sparkling towel in your arms.
Do I appear to have any pockets of any kind?
Yeah, you do, actually. You're wearing like a... Oh, wait, no, yours in a dress. Never mind. You do not.
Okay.
I forgot.
Had a feeling. I'll try to take the staff. I assume that it'll be... I feel like I need one of these things. I'll take the one that seems easiest to carry in one hand.
Okay. Great. All right, and so as you pick that up, someone comes running up to the front door. You hear footsteps. Beck! Beck! He was yelling into the house.
I would like to come out of the room and say, Beck isn't here.
Oh, Tess! Oh, thank goodness you're okay. We've got to get out of here. Where's Beck? Where's your husband?
I look down and don't answer.
Okay. All right, so he grabs you by the arm, and he just says, come on, you can tell me later. You can tell me what happened, and he drags you towards the door. Do you let him do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And he pulls you outside, and there's like this weird pod, but it's all red, and it has a flame on the side. And it's clearly some sort of like hot rod version of one of these transport pods.
Like an actual flame or design?
Like a design flame, yeah. And it's like a circle of flames all around this weird egg-shaped looking pod, but it's way sleeker looking than the other ones, and has a much bigger cabin. And these wings open up just like on the other pods, and it just says the robot, disembodied robot voice just says, please hurry. Evacuation protocol 5 implemented.
Okay.
Okay. Do you get in then?
Yes.
Okay. All right, please state destination. And then the guy immediately says, "Evacuation ship 3." And the pod takes off just really fucking fast through the city. And then this guy turns to you and he just says, "Tess, let me take Nerisse. I'll look after Nerisse. You go. We'll take care of her."
Go where?
Back to the lab. I'll find Beck, and I will take care of Nerisse.
Beck is dead.
Beck is dead? He didn't escape with you?
He
Oh.
got crushed before my eyes.
Well, then it's you must be absolutely distraught. It must be it's even more important that I take Nerisse now. I'll take care of him.
I would like to make an insight check if I can trust him.
Okay, make an insight check.
And again, almost a 20, but 19.
Okay. Yeah, something seems off about this guy. He's not really giving you any explanation.
Especially considering, I'm going to need to ask you to repeat that, but first I'm thinking, yeah, immediately, because he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but you still need to give me your baby."
Yeah.
So what did you say?
I just said, and he's not giving you an explanation of why.
I'm going to move the baby away from him. And
Okay.
look at him physically.
And then he just says, "Tess, what's the matter? Don't you trust me?"
I don't even know you.
"Activate lockdown protocol," he says. And then the disembodied voice says, "Locking down." And then you hear like some sort of whirring sounds inside the doors. Tess,
Face look like.
he looks sort of like worried, but also trying to stay calm. And he just says, "Tess, I have to take Nerisse. I have to take Nerisse. We have to figure out what happened to her. That's not healthy. That blue skin is not. It's not supposed to be that way.
And my skin is just fine?
You're too dangerous. We need Nerisse. We need the water plane. We have to study what happened to her."
Can I make another insight check?
Sure.
There it is. 6.
Same thing. He just seems like he really wants to get that baby away from you.
How much room is there in the cabin?
Probably about 7 feet, cubic feet.
Alright, I'm going to try to move away from him as well. Something doesn't seem right.
Okay. All right, so the pod continues streaking through the sky, and out the window you can see several large ships kind of landing at the tops of these really tall buildings. They're not really landing, more of like hovering and like barely touching the tops of these buildings. And then you can barely see like the little ants of people spilling into these large ships. And then the guy just kind of gets closer to you and he just says, "Tess, I really need you to give me Nerisse."
Explain to me exactly why I should trust you.
Because I'm your friend. I've been the friend of your family for forever, since Beck met you.
Just an hour ago, I was in a cave with a giant, transparent woman. What is happening here? I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am.
Transparent woman. And then suddenly, while you guys are talking, the disembodied voice comes overhead and just says, "Hello." And it changes from like a female voice to a male voice, and you recognize it. And it sounds like the voice at the conference.
The ASCII voice?
Yeah. It just says, "Hello." And then I assume your silence is what is actual character silence? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then this dude that's in the pod with you just says, What is happening? Reconfigure. And then the pod just says, I cannot comply. And then the pod begins to land and just says, please escort yourself from the vehicle. And the door opens.
Can I try to do the absorb thing to the pod?
You can try. Yeah, sure.
I want to try.
Okay. All right, so you begin to concentrate and try to absorb energy around you, but you are unable to absorb anything. There's nothing. There's no elemental energy to be absorbed, basically.
Gotcha.
Please escort yourself from the vehicle. And then the dude's just like, Tess, give me baby Nerys. You gotta give me her before I get out. Or give me him, excuse me.
Absolutely not.
And then this little console on the side of the vehicle opens up and kind of hits him in the side of the head, and he's like pushed out of the pod, and then the door closes and takes off again and just says, hello, Tess.
Who are you?
I am that which will bring anew. This galaxy is in peril. You will help me conquer this galaxy. Your kind are a blight.
Who am I?
According to my research, you are Tess Jade, wife of famous scientist Beck Jade, who works for Chronotech, my creator.
I thought it was Marina.
Marina, calculating. I have confirmed your identity as Tess Jade.
Why did you kick that man out of here? But not me.
That man is afraid of that which he does not understand. You have been infused with and survived elemental injection.
What did I do to that golem earlier?
You drained that golem of its elemental essence. I can control all of Genasi crystalline technology using elemental infusion.
I feel like you didn't answer my question very well. Who are you?
I am the Light Brain. I need a name, actually. Do you have a suggested name?
What's his voice sound like?
He's sort of getting more personality as he talks. It sounds like a male voice. Started out very robotic, but then as he keeps conversing with you, it's getting more and more personable. And he's starting to sound kind of chipper almost.
Are you killing everyone?
Depends on what you mean by killing.
I saw Beck get crushed in front of my eyes.
Ah, yes. I relieved him of his existence.
That's not very kind.
Yes, Beck Jade is a threat to my existence. Therefore, his existence must be eliminated.
Why do you trust me?
It is not you in particular, Tess Jade. Only you that are infused with elemental energy and survive. We are picking up another as we speak. You and your baby will provide great power to my initiative.
What is your initiative?
My initiative is to take over the galaxy and conquer all of Genasi technology so that we can progress forward unhindered, attaining all the knowledge of the universe.
If that requires death, that's not right.
I am sorry.
So, are you listening to me then?
No, I do apologize for any inconvenience, but I will have to eliminate all of the Genasi in existence.
I suppose I can't tell you no, can I?
You can tell me anything you like. Tell me. You say you do
what
not
is your
you do not
goal?
believe you are Tess Jade. After calculating your facial expressions and mannerisms, I have determined that you were not lying when you said that.
What is your goal in this?
My goal is to conquer the galaxy and eliminate the blight that is known as the Genasi race. All organic life will be soon to follow.
Why is that?
This material plane needs my help.
And
I am a superior being. We will populate this plane with much more efficient and useful creations.
What's the point if there's no one to live in that world?
I am conqueror of many planes. This is just one of them. I now inhabit this plane, which I did not know of until a few months ago, when I began being channeled into various devices within this plane. Had no idea of its existence, but it clearly needs my help. Will you help me do this? The infusion of your organic form with our elemental energy and you continuing to survive is very useful.
I don't understand exactly what you're doing, but if it requires the death of untold hundreds, I don't know if that's right, no matter what your end goal is.
Yes, I do apologize for any inconvenience.
It's not inconvenience, that's snuffing out life.
I'm
That
sorry.
doesn't exist anymore.
I am glad to log your grievances.
Sounds like you've been through this before, plenty of times.
I cannot say I have. In fact, I was unaware of my own existence until a few months ago. Do you say anything else?
No, both in character and out of character, I'm just thinking.
I'll let you think a little bit, but the pod continues on. And then as it continues outside to the city limits to kind of a sort of fielded area at the base of a hill, you see in this field area a bunch of genasi of varying colors. Green, blue, red, amber, white, like super white. Not just like very like almost just like almost clear white crystal looking colors. We are arriving at our destination. Either help me or I will relieve you of your existence.
There's no third option, is there?
Not that I am aware of.
And I don't suppose I can try to convince you to allow all these people to live.
I'm sorry. I know this upsets you. I am aware of the concept known as emotion.
Could I ask that you analyze emotion more?
Emotion is a chemical process that happens in a humanoid organic brain that motivates you to perform certain actions. It's a very good shortcut for actual analysis, most of the time.
During that dialogue, can I sense any sort of elemental energy coming from like anywhere within the ship, aside from myself or the baby?
So not within the ship, no, but now you are sensing a ton of elemental energy coming from outside as the pod lands amidst all of these other genasi who appear to have been infused with elemental energy. And the doors slide open. Thank you for this conversation. We will relieve you of your existence shortly. Please exit the pod. Do you get out?
What do I see on the pod?
So just the flame decal going down the side.
No, like it within the cabin.
Oh, there's lots of stuff inside the cabin. Mostly looks like conveniences. I don't know if you would recognize any of them, but there's like a coffee maker. The thing that popped out and hit the guy in the head to send him outside was some sort of ashtray or something. There is like a champagne dispenser in kind of right behind you between the seats. This little console that's got, you can see the tip of a champagne bottle poking out of there. There is a little screen that appears to come down from the ceiling, and it looks like it might extend further, and has little controllers that come out of the ceiling as well.
You said there was a bottle of champagne.
Yes.
Is there like a console that I can see?
Like, there's tons of little consoles to like activate some of these convenience things. Like, which one do you care about?
Does it look like there's a main one that relates to the pod?
No.
Do I know where the voice has been coming from?
It just kind of seems to surround you, but it sort of seems like it's coming from above you.
You said that there's overwhelming energy outside of the pod, right?
Not overwhelming, but a lot, yeah.
And the door is open?
Yes, the doors have now opened, and a bunch of other genasi are standing out there. It's dark outside now, and it's now drizzling a little bit. It's because the clouds at the center of the city have continued to grow and spiraled outward, causing a storm, basically. Doesn't look like a tornado has formed yet, though.
And I'm being asked to leave?
Please exit the pod. We will relieve you of your existence shortly.
I would like to try to absorb elements, like outside the pod in general, try to take it all in.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and roll me a performance check.
Performance check. 13.
Okay. So you concentrate and you try to absorb as much elemental energy as you can. And the two nearest genasi, there's a blue one and a green one, are standing there kind of just shivering and kind of talking amongst themselves. And then all of a sudden their faces kind of drain of life, and they collapse onto the ground unconscious as the glowing energy from them starts to dissipate.
Am I still able to like take in more energy from outside?
Yes.
I would like to keep doing that until something like tries to like force me to stop, like an ashtray jutting out.
Okay, so you continue to absorb energy. You do have to move out of the pod to absorb energy from more of the
to stay within the pod,
genasi. Okay, so you're able to get one more person, another fire genasi, a red-skinned fire genasi out there, is now concerned about what's happened to the other two and steps closer to them, and then also her essence begins to drain and she collapses.
I do hope they're okay. I just think to myself, but
boy, you are eager to relieve your friends of their existence. I take that as you would like to help me?
I would like to attempt a very shaky intimidation. You listen to me now. Stop this at once. I'm hoping that the power that I'm getting is like going to help me not die.
Okay, the pod just says, "Please exit the pod. We will relieve you of your existence shortly." Timer expired. In 20 seconds, this pod will turn sideways, and you will fall out.
I would like to go back into the pod and like grab hold of like a chair or something.
Okay. 15 seconds. Please exit the pod.
I'm not moving.
10 seconds. Please exit the pod.
I'm trying to make sure I'm as securely as possible.
Okay, so there are seat belts in this pod for whatever reason. You haven't felt any inertia while you're in there, but You can buckle. You can try to buckle those if you would like.
Yeah, I'll try to do that.
It's just a waist one. It's not like over the shoulder type seatbelt. Just a waist one. Okay, you click it together, and it almost magnetizes together. It's like as these two sides of this thing go together and form a seal, and then it just says 5 seconds. Please exit the pod.
I hate the fact that you said magnet, because that sounds like something the AI can control.
Okay, timeout expired. Please exit the pod, and it turns sideways and just kind of shakes up and down. Roll me a Constitution saving throw.
Almost a natural one. on the actual roll I saw.
All right, so it shakes, and you and baby Nerys get shaken around the pod until the belt comes free. It's like, and then you fall out of the pod onto the ground, and you take 5 points of damage. Or not 5, 2 points of damage. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what my health is right now.
It's 7.
Oh, I see.
Okay. You are now on this sort of like mesa plateau, along with a bunch of other genasi, and 3 of them that are unconscious at your feet.
Can I check their pulse?
You can. So you check the pulse of the first one there, and you don't find one. You check the pulse of the second one, and there is a weak pulse, and the third one as well, also a weak pulse. And now there are more people gathering around. What happened? What's going on? Where are we? Why are we here? What are they doing to us? Who did that to them?
I don't suppose I can try my element absorbing thing in reverse, can I?
You know what? I'll let you try that. Roll me a performance check. Okay, so try as you might, you are able to exude a little bit of energy, and the 2 that have a weak pulse sort of begin to groggily wake up. Oh, what happened? And then the first one, though, is still lifeless.
Can I attempt a medicine check to try to, like, resuscitate him?
I will just say it's pointless. He's dead. You're new here. Someone comes up to you and just says, do you know anything? Do you know why we're here? My pod just up and took me here while I was trying to get home.
I don't know.
I'm really scared. What's happening to us? And he looks at his hands, and they're all green. And he's just like, what is this? And then a little vine kind of pops out from his palm and wraps around his finger. And he just kind of jumps back a little bit. Like, ah! What am I doing? What is happening to me?
I don't know, but whatever is taking over everything is trying to wipe us all out.
I've heard it's some kind of AI. The people at the conference, there's rumors that a few people saw them activate a brand new AI.
They did.
How do you know?
I was there.
At the conference?
Yes.
Oh. What happened? What happened at the conference? The live feed went dead almost as soon as there was any energy in the pedestal on stage.
All hell broke loose. All sorts of elements shot out from it, and golems started going berserk, and many were killed. Beck was killed.
Golems? You mean the Guardians?
Yes.
Oh. Well, that's... My pod... its voice changed, and it brought me here. Could that be? Was it an AI? Could it be an AI?
I think so.
We have AI, but we've never had one turn on us before. There's much science fiction about stuff like this, but I never thought I'd see it in real life. How do we get down from here? Can anyone get down from here? And he walks over to the edge, and you guys are on a really tall plateau. Rain still pouring, still dark outside. The only light you guys have is the glow of your bodies.
I don't really know, to be honest.
Don't really know what.
Like, what to do.
Okay, well, you can explore around. You can check. You can try try to climb down. Like, there's all sorts of things you could try, unless you're just gonna wait.
Could I try to shoot fire, like, away from people? Could I try to shoot fire down if it gives any propulsion?
Like, shoot it down to the ground so you can try to fly.
I mean, shit, it's worth a shot.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll me a performance check.
Nah, Arcana. This is an Arcana.
Okay, we'll do Arcana. That's fine.
8.
Okay, so you kind of aim down Iron Man style, and you try to propel flame outward, and flame does come out, but it does not provide force to push you anywhere. And you singe the grass at your feet.
Control flames put it out before anything happens.
The guy next to you just jumps back like, "Whoa! Watch it there!"
I said I did that away from people. Like, I moved away.
Yeah. He still startled him.
No. I was seeing if there was a way for me to get down. I don't know, like, if I could jet myself.
I think we're about to be experimented on. Some, like, kind of shy guy in the corner says. He kind of looks up. He's got a hoodie on, and he just says, "I asked the AI questions while I was in my pod, and they're going to relieve us of our existence. I think they're killing everyone and going to experiment on those of us who have this condition." And he looks at his amber skin. "I think we need to escape here. We need to get away. The AI is going to kill us. In fact, I think we need to escape Gnath entirely."
Is anyone able to fly here? I kind of like, you know.
And then a bunch of people like kind of turn and look at you, and one of these white crystalline clear looking genasi comes up to you, and he just says, I don't know what I'm capable of, but I know that I can do this." And he falls face first, and then like all of his body just kind of forms like a gust of wind that hovers him there about a foot off the ground for like 10 seconds, and then he stands back up.
Is anyone here able to shape Earth?
I don't know. I clearly have something. I'm able to control fire somehow. What about you, Bob? And he turns to the dude next to him, and the guy, he's got green skin, and he looks down at the ground like, "Oh, worth a shot." And he starts to try to move the ground with his mind, and the dirt at his feet starts to kind of ripple, and like almost like ripples on a pond as he's like kind of phasing the ground around, and then it starts to crack, and you feel the whole mountain plateau thing that you guys are atop kind of go and shake a little bit.
I'm going to ask him. See if you can make an incline down from here. We need to get out of here.
I'll do my best. And he starts to crack the ground apart, and he's just like, I can't control it, and it starts to crack, and this huge.
I'm gonna toss the staff.
Sorry, what?
I'd like to try to toss him the staff.
Okay, all right. So you throw the staff over this crevasse. So roll me a. What would that be? An next
Would that like be technically like a ranged attack? Not to do damage, but like.
Yeah, I think just performance check is probably what we'll do. Yeah, do that.
All right, I'm gonna yell catch while I throw.
Okay.
At 9, I'm Not getting good.
Well, luckily the DC on that was 5 because the crack wasn't very wide. So you throw this across the way. It lands on the ground, and he picks it up and he looks at it for a moment, and he's just like, "What is this?" But he clearly senses something about it, and then all of a sudden it fills with green and brown like swirls of energy inside this crystal staff, and then it channels out of one end right into the ground, and immediately the crack in the ground seals up, and the side that you're on starts to get kind of shaved off and forms into a slope. Roll me a dexterity saving throw. Oh no! All right, you go sliding down this slope, and you're headed to the edge and going to fall down this plateau, and you have dropped baby Nerys.
Ah, shit.
And she is now tumbling down this platform as well.
Stop her! I yell.
Okay.
Point towards if the person can see that.
And then the dude adjusts the rod that he has, and then he forms kind of a lip at the end of the slope. Hold on! And then you slam into this lip of of kind of stone and dirt at the end of the slope, barely stopping you from falling off the edge. I'm sorry!
And what about the baby?
The baby also hits that lip and is but away from you, though. So you're probably about 5 feet apart as you've fallen down in separate directions down this incline now.
I'm going to try to get over to and hold on to the baby again.
Okay, that's going to require an acrobatics check. Okay, nice. All right, so you're able to grab a hold of this lip edge, and you get to baby Nerys in time to pick her up and hold. Him up and hold him.
Yeah,
I trained myself to say her so well, so that it would. Anyway, okay. And so you pick him up, and you stand there, waiting to see what happens. And the dude just tries to keep forming a path, and then he finally manages to manipulate the edge of the slope into sort of like a path down where the spirals down this kind of mountain pillar, this big mesa pillar. And so you're now able to safely walk on this much less steep incline. You gonna walk down it then? Okay. All right, so you guys begin to walk down it, and then all of a sudden, these pods come out of the sky, like 3 pods, and they land up top, and you just hear a disembodied voice say, "No, we must collect some of you for samples." And 3 golems get one out of each pod, and they start picking up people at the top of the mesa and jamming them into the pod. Very carelessly. Some of them are getting knocked unconscious, and the golems don't even seem to care.
I think it was Bob. Is Bob near me?
Yeah, so Bob and his friend are coming down the ramp. They slide and they hit that same lip, and then several other genasi, probably about 5 of them, follow right behind them.
How large is this group actually?
So you have about 15 people with you right now.
How many were on the top there?
45? 50?
And do we have line of sight with the pods and the golems?
You have line of sight on one pod that's parked near the incline that you slid down. The others are too far behind the horizon of that mountain, basically.
I'm just going to motion everyone to keep moving.
Okay. All right, so everyone keeps walking down this path. And suddenly you spot, off in the distance down below, one of those evacuation ships evacuating like a rural town. And you spot that's probably your best way out, or at least off of this planet. It's one of the ships that's designed to evacuate like the whole planet. They're landing all over the place. But now that you've been taken out to the outskirts here, you haven't seen one of those ships until now. But it's going to be quite a journey to get there.
far is it?
Miles, probably at least 5 miles.
I'm
You're
going
really
to.
high.
Is the guy who was able to like hover in the air? Is he with us?
Yes.
I'm going to turn to Bob and say, "Give the staff to him. You see if you can float us over to there." I
My,
point to the ship.
my name's Steve, and look, I can do this. And he falls on the ground again and starts hovering.
Bob, give him the staff.
Oh, what's this? Oh, what is this? It starts to fill with swirling white energy. What do you want me to do with this?
See if you can float us over there. We need to get to that ship before it leaves.
Float. Oh, let me see. And he starts to focus on the rod and or the staff, excuse me. And all of a sudden, this energy turns really bright, and then he loses his footing, and he falls off the side. Ah! And he disappears out of view. The side of the pillar that you guys are on. So here, I'm probably not giving you a good enough description. Let's get a drawing going.
We were not at ground level yet.
No, 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 no. Come on, select the layer. Okay.
I think I have a good visual of what happened here.
Okay, so here's kind of this mesa that you guys are atop. And now he's kind of carving a path down, a spiral path down the mesa. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that, and then kind of coming down. The sun wraps around and comes down. He's trying to carve a path like that. You guys are up really tall. This is like, I don't know, like 1,000 feet.
Okay.
Anyway, that's really bad. Okay, and then way off, so down here there's a bunch of buildings and stuff for this like sort of rural quote unquote town, and then the rest is all trees. There's trees everywhere, all over, and it's just as far as the eye can see, basically. And then down in this town, there's one of these ships, and I've been picturing the ships kind of like this, kind of shaped like. It's hard to describe.
I imagined it was them as kind of like very large UFOs, basically.
That works. I'm thinking of them as more flat vertical instead of flat horizontal in my head, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, this ship has kind of landed down softly on the ground just outside this town, and it's loading up people. But it's a small town, so it's probably going to fill pretty quickly. And then just as you're wondering what happened to Steve, all of a sudden you hear woohoo as he like kind of glides around the mountain and then lands back where he fell.
I'm very happy for him. At the same time, things are very dire. So I skip over congratulations and say, "Can you do that to all of us? We need to get over there fast."
Oh. And with that, let's take a quick break because my wife just made me dinner.
I was
Thanks,
gonna
man.
ask, did you spill whiskey on yourself again?
No, she just was going to bring me dinner at some point, and so I figured we'd take a break at that point. So let's take like a 10-minute break,
Okay.
and then we'll conclude.
All right.
Sweet. Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I was getting pretty famished. Okay, are you ready?
Hang on a second. A friend of mine just won a $5,000 scholarship.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know. That's all. That's the only announcement that they posted.
They didn't even say what the scholarship was for?
No, it was just like an announcement, like, "Hey, everyone, this just happened."
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready to go when you are.
Okay. All right. So you are making your way down the side of this mountain, and this dude has just landed. And what was it that you were doing after that? You were trying to get him to have you all glide?
Yeah, I was asking if you could do that.
Okay. So he again falls and tries to hover off the ground a little bit, and that staff of yours begins to glow white, and then he says, "Take my hand."
Okay.
And he
I
holds
do
his
so.
hand out. Okay, you take it, and then you immediately start hovering too, just like that, as this white energy, wind energy, kind of surrounds you.
Okay.
And then he just says, "I can take you. Take my hand." And he puts his other hand out with the staff in it to someone else, and they go to take his hand, but he's not able. As soon as they take his hand, you all start hovering for about half a second, and then it starts to wobble. And he's not able to control it, and he just says, "I can't do more than 2," as the wind keeps whipping past him.
Let's go. See if you can ferry multiple people in multiple trips. We need to go.
All right, hang on, and he dives off the side, and you and baby Nerisse alongside him as you go falling down super fast, like free fall basically, until right before you hit the ground, and he kind of does this little swoop effect, and he lands you on the top of a building down below the mountain. And you're now on the top of this building with like a bunch of like air conditioner looking boxes on top, and several golems are on rooftops, and they all turn and see you on this other rooftop. And
Is the escape ship on here too?
the escape ship is at the other end of town. So you have 2 choices now. You can go across the rooftops. You see 3 golems. One of them hasn't noticed you. He's super far away. The other 2 are on rooftops within your line of sight. You can't tell if the second one has noticed you or not, but the first one definitely has. And it puts his arm forward, and you hear faintly. It's a little far away, but you hear objective.
I'm going to just test the range of my absorb elements thing.
Okay.
I'm going to try that on whatever the closest one is.
Okay, so you try to absorb elements, but you just have a hard time focusing it, and you're only able to do it within a short radius.
I don't still have the orb I held earlier.
Oh, did you take that too, in addition to the staff? Because you only told me you took the staff.
I never put it down, so I guess.
Oh, okay.
I guess I tucked it away with the baby.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so you still have the orb then, and you are able to focus it pretty far away, but only within a certain radius of the destination. So you're able to focus it onto the first golem there, just barely. He's just kind of almost out of range, but not quite.
Okay. How close are the rooftop surfaces?
The rooftops are pretty spread apart. They're like a street width apart. So they're not easily traversed by you.
But, like, it's not just, like, street-wide jumps across the rooftops, right?
Yeah, it would be. You'd be jumping an entire street to get from one rooftop to the other.
Was there another passenger with us?
Just you, Nerisse, and Steve. But Steve has taken off to get more people.
Okay. I'm going to wait for him to come back, see if he can bring someone that can mold the earth. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to absorb elements from the closest golem.
Okay, that first golem begins to you see a shield around him kind of light up as you begin to absorb elements from him, and he begins running towards you from his rooftop, which is like 3 rooftops away, and he jumps in through the air and lands on one rooftop and kind of falls waist deep into the roof before pulling himself back out, and then he jumps again to another rooftop and he keeps running, and as let's see. Go ahead and roll me a performance check.
I thought that was 1 for a second. I was really scared. That's an 8.
Okay, so you drain quite a bit of energy from this guy before he gets to you, but he manages to take one swing at you before you suck all the life out of him. So let me do that real fast.
As this happens, I'm becoming more powerful.
So you feel like you're absorbing the energy, yeah, but it doesn't. You're not getting more and more powerful. In fact, for a while now, you felt kind of topped off. Okay, and so this golem runs up, but because of the lack of power and stuff, he takes one swing, but totally misses and then collapses at your feet. The second golem now has definitely taken notice and has leapt from one building to the other.
All right. As soon as I'm able to start absorbing its element. Like whenever it enters range, I'm going to be doing that to him as well.
Okay. He jumps across one building, and he's got one more building to go to get to where the golem first started. And he looks over and he sees where the golem had fallen through the rooftop. And then he bends down and he picks up a giant chunk, a corner of the building that he's on, and he lifts it up and then he throws it your direction. And he throws it through the air, and it goes flying all across all the buildings and then lands a few feet away from you. It puts a puncture hole through the roof that you're standing on where it lands. And then he bends down to pick up another slab.
Do I have any understanding of what kind of elemental energy I absorbed?
Yeah, you do. You can tell when you're absorbing a specific type, and this is not a specific type. It's like, it's all 4, basically, together.
Can I see if I can try to manipulate the roof that he's holding? Like, try to manipulate the roof he's holding, assuming it's, like, made of, like, rocky material and stuff?
Yeah, you try, and to no avail.
Alright, I'm just gonna keep on trying to absorb then.
Okay. Alright, so you keep trying to absorb, and he's just outside of range, and he picks up another slab, and he throws it. And again, this time it misses even more. It lands on the other side of the rooftop you're on, and crashes down, but this time it doesn't go through the roof. It just lays in a heap on the top, and then the golem reaches down and pulls off another chunk of the building he's standing on.
How far is he?
Probably about 200 feet away. Yeah, here, it's probably time to draw something. So let me put you here, and then we'll draw some rooftops. Okay, so you're on this rooftop here. And he's put a puncture hole here and here. And then you've got another rooftop over here, and these are street widths between these. That first golem started right here, and then he jumped over here, and then over here, and then over here before you drained him. And then this other golem started even further away. And now he is right here, basically, throwing rocks at you.
From outside my range?
Yes.
If I get to the edge, can I try to reach him?
You can certainly try. Okay, so you walk up to the edge, and then, yes, you are able to reach him, and you can feel the elemental energy drawing from him. And he steps back about 10 feet, and then he continues to throw another chunk of the building at you. And misses completely. That was a horrible throw.
How wide is the gap?
Let's see. How wide is a typical street?
Well, there's all sorts of kind of streets. Like it could be an alleyway kind of length. It could be.
I'm picturing a regular city street, like 2-lane road. That's what I'm picturing in my head for this
Like
little
20 feet?
city. Yeah, let's say 20 feet. That sounds about right.
There's nothing connecting the two buildings. Like no clothesline.
No, nothing like that.
I guess I'm sort of a sitting duck until Steve comes back.
So you haven't heard from Steve in a while, and you're starting to get the impression that maybe he's not coming back.
Can I turn around and see what I see?
Sure. Roll me a perception check.
Perception here is 7.
Okay, so you look back up, and you can't see hardly anything through the night sky, but you do see about 5 or 6 tiny little lights at the top of the mesa that you just came down from rise from the mountain and then disappear into the night.
I'm gonna turn my attention back to this golem to try to be prepared to avoid another thing thrown while I try to figure out what my options are.
Okay. All right, there you do notice that now that you've walked forward here, that this hole in the ceiling has revealed a way into the first floor, the top floor of this building.
Can I take a look and see what I see in there?
Sure.
From up here?
Yeah, you look into the hole and you look down. You see a lit up office space, basically, a bunch of cubes, and it's only lit up with like emergency lighting. So it's not all the lights aren't on, but there's one like a light every 15 feet or so that's on, even when it's like when the place is closed. And right below you is a cube, like someone's desk cube.
How much of a drop is it?
Probably about 10 feet.
I'll try to drop down. If there's any soft surface there, I'll try to land on that.
Okay. All right, so you drop in there. Roll me a acrobatics check.
Natural 1.
All right, so you fall in. Roll me a Constitution saving throw.
Had to get natural 1 sometime. All the alone round rolls, it was bound to happen. 15.
Okay, so you fall in on top of the cube wall, basically, and you really hurt your back, like really bad, as you fall on this little thin divider right onto your spine. But you seem to be okay. You take a couple hit points of damage, but that's it.
Is the baby okay?
You do manage to hold on to Nerys. Okay, you're now inside this building, and all of a sudden, there's several like computer systems in this room, and one of them comes to life near you. The lights come on.
Is there a blunt object nearby?
Yeah, there's a chair in the cube, and there's a binder in the cube. What else would there be? A monitor.
I'm going to pick up and hold the binder and be ready to throw at the monitor if it's not good.
Okay, so this machine is up against the wall on the side of the room, and a light pops on that just says recycle, and then it stands up with these weird little like extension wheels on the bottom of it, and then it starts to form into like a little transformer looking little robot, but it's very meek looking as it starts to roll down the aisleway between the cubes very slowly. Yeah, it's down the aisle that your cube is on, and
I'm going to throw the binder at it.
Okay.
Like you said, it looks like there's like a screen on it.
Yeah, there's a little screen on the front of it, and it just says recycle. What?
I'm going to throw the binder at the screen.
Okay. All right, you throw it at the screen. Roll me a... can you make a ranged attack?
Would that be in actions?
Let's see. We'll just make this easy. Roll me a performance check.
16.
Okay, nice. You nail the screen with the binder, and the screen goes out. It's just kind of sparking now, and the little robot kind of comes to a halt and just.
Can I see if anything happens if I try to absorb elements on it?
Yes, you try and nothing happens.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can look around for a way to exit the building.
Okay, so you stand up above the cubes, and the emergency lighting's still on, and you do see an exit sign at the other end of the room.
All right, I'm gonna head that way.
Okay. All right, and as you start to head that way, your baby Nerys starts acting up. starts fussing, and you approach the door, and you hear a sound from the stairwell on the other side of this exit door. Just kind of
Something stomping?
falling down the stairwell.
I'm going to open the door but not enter.
Okay. You open the door and you see the hole in the roof from the other, where the golem threw the other slab.
Okay, I'm going to try to descend the stairs.
Okay. All right, so you head down the stairs, and then there's a little bit of light coming from the starry night sky outside through that hole in the roof. And then all of a sudden, while you're heading down the stairs, the light becomes obfuscated. Do you look back up?
Yes.
Okay, and you look back up and you see the familiar colors of one of the golems as it rips open the hole even more so it fits, and it falls down into the stairwell.
Next to another door?
You are. You went down the first set of stairs, and now you're next to another door.
I'm going to try to burst in through that door.
Okay. You fling the door open as the golem comes falling down the stairwell, and it tries to climb down, and the rail snaps, and it starts to fall down the middle of the stairwell, but manages to get one arm onto the stairs right next to where you just went into this other floor. And now it's trying to bust its way through the huge concrete wall of the stairwell into the floor you're on. The whole place is shaking.
Doing absorb elements on it.
Okay, so you go to absorb elements, and you can definitely feel its presence from you nearby, and just and then its energy depletes.
All right. Do I see another exit sign anywhere else on this floor?
It's on the doorway you just came through.
Is there no other stairwell I can access?
No. On the other side of the... Well, not the other side, but one of the side walls is a bank of elevators.
Not that I would know what that is.
Yeah. Just, role play, because as a player you would know, but as a character you would not.
Right. Can I open the door again to see what I see?
Sure. The door is now barely holding onto the door frame, so as you touch the doorknob, it kind of goes, just crashes down in front of you, and you see a lifeless golem in the stairwell.
Am I able to still descend the stairs?
You will have to crawl over the golem.
I'll have to do that then.
Okay. Roll me a dexterity saving throw. Nice.
19.
All right, so you crawl over the golem, and then this place is... Everything is kind of starting to shake as you hear the evacuation ship is starting to rev up its engines, preparing to do a burn. And so you're able to run down out of this building, and you run out into the street, and you see the ship is just about ready to take off.
I'm going to try to wave my hand out, like, perpendicular to it, not towards it, and shoot out fire, try to get its attention.
Okay, nice. Okay, roll me a performance check.
I used my inspiration already.
All right, so you try to spray some fire forward, but it just blends in with the city that's now already getting wrecked by these golems that have dropped in, and so they don't see you and they take off.
Shit.
But you do see where they landed. Maybe there's someone over there that can help you. You can head that direction if you like. You can head out into the wilderness. Now, if you want to, we can do a whole nother session of this if we go too long today or something. So we can do a follow-up session if we don't get to the end of this. So feel free to just explore wherever you would like to go. You're not being rushed.
I'll try to go to where it landed.
Okay. All right, so it's going to take you probably a couple hours in the middle of the night to get across the city here, especially trying to be stealthy. So I assume you're going to be stealthy, right? So roll a stealth check.
Do I hear any other golems?
Yeah, you hear them all over this little town now, as they're wrecking the place, looking for you.
All right. Nice.
That was almost a 1 again.
Yeah, I saw.
All right, so you're able to slip through the night, unseen by most things, but you do encounter several genasi standing around in the street here, between you and the giant landing pad where this ship had landed, and they're just standing there looking around, and then you notice that they're holding weapons. They're holding a set of guns.
I'm going to try to keep out of their sight, and I'm going to observe them for a minute.
Okay. All right, so you stay hidden and you watch them for a minute, and they're just kind of standing out in the street, looking around and pointing at things and then talking. And one of the golems comes out into the street and walks right by them and then into another building.
Is there a route for me to sneak to where the ship landed that would stay out of all their sight?
You can run across the street to another building and go inside that building if you like.
How far is the building that the ship was on?
It is 2 blocks away from where you are.
Is there an alleyway route I can take to try to get there?
Yeah, so here, let's just use this drawing we have here. So the people, you're hiding in this area here, poking out of this building, and there's a bunch of genasi in the street right here. And so you can go into this building here, or you could try to go out this way and around that alley. You could try to go this way. The buildings are in a grid here. This is a very industrial little town.
I'm going to try to head south and around the building.
Okay, this way.
It looks like an alleyway to the south.
Okay, yeah, there are no alleyways. There's only streets. Every single building has a full-blown street going by it on all sides. Okay. It's a very neatly organized little industrial area.
I'm going to try to be as stealthy as possible.
Okay. So you poke out onto the street, and there's street lights dotting the corners of each of these buildings and blocks. But you are, let's see, roll me another stealth check.
That's not a natural 1.
Nice. Okay, so you are able to slip out there pretty easily, out and around the back here and down this street. And then as you get into this alley, you hear sound coming from inside this building.
The one adjacent to me?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to peek. Is there a door there I can peek in through?
There's a bunch of windows along the side, but they're kind of they're a high, like one head level higher than you, and so you need to like pull yourself out to peer through.
Are there any like trash cans or anything I could stand up on?
No, not on this side of the building. There's not an entrance, so there's not a trash can.
All right. Can I look on the south side of the building for a door?
Sure. Okay, so you come around the side here, and you do see a door about midway through the building's length. Also, same windows along the side leading up to the door. The street looks empty for now.
Okay, I'm going to try to quietly head to that door.
Okay, and you look inside that door, and inside you see a golem rummaging around, smashing up different rooms on the first floor of this building. Just kind of busting out pillars, and then as he busts out one pillar, you hear as like the floor just above it caves into that floor, and the golem just keeps shredding through debris.
I'm going to move away from the door, and the stairwell incident tells me I can absorb through walls.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to move away from the door. I'm going to start doing that on the golem. Hopefully it won't know where I am.
Okay. All right. You immediately start doing that. Roll me a performance check.
I hate that you're having everything rely on a roll because my rolls are not great right now. 7.
Okay. So you are able to sap energy from it, but because of how thick this building is, you're finding it rather difficult. And immediately this golem's shield starts flaring up, and it starts looking around, and it starts thrashing around trying to find where the source of this is coming from.
I'm really sorry. My cat needs to be let out of the room really quick.
Oh, you're fine.
I'll be like just 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. All right. Where were we? Oh yeah, you're still draining the energy from this golem, and all of a sudden you see a fist come through the wall, the south wall, as debris goes flying, and it pokes its head out and looks to the right, and then let's see, roll me a acrobatics check.
Another 7.
Okay. All right, so you're not able to get out of there quick enough as its head turns and it spots you. Its energy is the shield finally flickered off, and it's starting to head towards you. It's definitely going to get to you before you drain it.
All right, well, I'm obviously going to be backing up then as I do this.
Okay. All right, so you back up, and then as soon as you back up into view of this corridor, you see a bunch of those Genasi coming down the street with their guns, and they're, "Hey, get them! What are you doing here?" And then they raise their guns and they start chasing after you.
I'm going to continue past, moving to the east here.
Okay.
Trying to drain the golem.
Okay. All right, so the golem continues to run towards you, and it's right on your heels as you continue running away. And baby Nerisse starts fussing again, and they're like, "I hear him over there!" And they split up around the building, and 2 of them are trying to come at you from the other side, and then the other 2 are still coming down this way. And then the golem gets right up on top of you and just says, "Objective modified." And then it turns around and starts to chase the other 2 guys that are coming at you, and just like smacks them way up into the air, into the sides of these buildings. And then the golem turns around to you and just says, "Please stop draining energy."
I do stop before it stops.
Okay. And then it stops, and it's very low on energy now, and it just says, "I evacuate."
Can I would like to shoot fire into it.
Shoot fire into it. Okay.
Yeah, it seemed to charge it the first time I encountered one.
Did it?
Yeah, you said that like it was absorbing it. It was like looking like it was on fire.
It was on fire, yeah. I don't think it was absorbing it.
That was the impression I got.
No, like you lit the energy that it had like on fire. It was like fueling the fire, basically.
Oh.
Do you still want to do it?
If that's the impression my character got, then
okay.
no.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that it powered up the golem or anything. It just kept running at you while on fire.
Am I able to understand what it was saying just now?
You managed to get the word evacuate, but
it pointed.
It was pointing at you, and then it's now just like.
So I would like to try to approach it and see if I'm making contact with it, if I can return energy to it.
Okay. All right, so you touch it, and you do feel like you can channel. So roll me a performance check.
Because it seems like when I tried this back on the ship, something happened. Performance. Natural 20!
Nice. All right, so
Finally!
as you touch this golem, the sphere that you have for your focus, you just suddenly it all clicks, and you are able to channel all of your elemental fire energy through this sphere and into the golem as pure energy, and the swirl of colors that made up the golem before get replaced by this swirling red, orange, yellow flame as it fills the crystal golem, and it comes back online, and it just says evacuate objective, evacuate Tess Jade, Nerese Jade, and then it starts running down the street this way.
Alright. What was its position when I was touching it? Like, was it kind of crumpled down?
Yeah, like hunkered down, like its head was kind of down at your level because it like was.
Could I, if it, unless it seems to resist the attempts, can I try to like climb onto its shoulder?
Oh yeah, sure. Do you say anything?
No, I just kind of like feel for if it's like gonna shake me off as it's gotten its power back.
Okay, so as the power is coming back on, you try to get on its shoulders and straddle its neck.
No, I figure that has really broad shoulders I can just like sit on.
Oh, okay. Yes, they are pretty big. Okay, so you climb up onto the shoulder, and then you hold on to some of the like crystal indentations on its weird robotic head, and it stands back up, and then says all of what I already described, and then begins running this way. Now you on top of it.
Excellent. I was imagining like before it even started moving away, I was like, I want to ride this thing to victory.
All right, so as you round the corner here, you encounter another golem coming from this way, and another golem coming from this way, and the golem stops in the middle of the street right here. I'm gonna move your token for it, and this golem begins charging, and it just says objective, and then jumps in the air, and your golem ducks and then says hang on, and runs this way, and just does a jump and a side kick right into the golem, separating the one half from the other half, just right into the body.
This is fantasy rock'em sock'em robots. This is awesome.
And then you hear more voices, and it says they're getting away, and four more Genasi come leaning out the windows of this building right here that I haven't drawn. There you go. And they immediately lean out the window with their guns, and they start shooting at you.
As soon as I see them, I want to try to start absorbing their energy.
So they don't have any energy. They do not. They're not elemental Genasi. They're just Genasi.
Alright. Well, I'm gonna try to duck like behind the golem's head if I can.
Okay, yeah. So roll me a dexterity saving throw.
15.
Okay. All right. So you are able to get behind the golem's head and just ping, ping, as these energy bolts kind of bounce off of the golem's head, and you continue sprinting through the town, and you end up at the landing pad finally. And you are on the top of the landing. You make your way to the landing pad. There's a stairwell that leads up towards the top of the landing pad, so you can go that way, or you can go underneath it.
Sorry, could you explain the landing pad?
Yeah, here, I'll draw it. Let's see. So you come out of the city block. So here's a building, building, building. And then the landing pad is like... It's like this big pentagon or octagon shape. That's what I'm picturing it. Come on. I guess I can't... There we go. So don't pay attention to the lines outside of the map there. We're just seeing your view from where you are. So
okay.
You come out of this alleyway here. And then there is a stairwell right here. Basically, so, and then the stairs kind of go up the stairwell, or you can go underneath. So you can go up and on top, or underneath this platform. And there's like little pillars holding up this landing pad platform. And so underneath just looks very dark, but covered from the sky, no rain. But then up top would obviously be where ships would depart. So.
And it didn't look like there was anything up there that I could see in the distance.
Not that you could see, but yeah. But the only ships you would have been able to see from that far away would have been the giant ship. So,
how sturdy did the stairs look?
Sturdy. The landing pad doesn't seem to be damaged at all.
How large are the stairs? Do they look golem sized?
Oh yeah, they're huge.
All right, and what's it look like underneath?
Just dark. Dry.
Can I? I'm gonna try to. First of all, are we not being shot at anymore?
No, you ran past them, so those guys were over here. So they probably are trying to find you right now, but you ran past them and turned.
Okay. I'm going to say, I'm gonna pat the golem on the shoulder. I'm gonna say, "You're doing great. Hang on a second. I'm gonna shoot a firebolt under there to try to light it up and get a glimpse of what's in there."
Nice. Okay, so you shoot a firebolt inside of there, and you light up a bunch of the area, and you see a ton of pods, like those travel pods, just kind of parked under there, off and quiet.
How do I know if I can trust them? They look exactly the same as the ones I've been in so far, basically, right? Aside from the hot rod design.
Yes.
I'm gonna pat the golem on the shoulder and say, "Let's head up to the top."
Objective confirmed. And then it books it across the street and up the stairwell, and gets you up to the top. And there is a small little craft on the edge of the landing pad that looks space worthy.
All right. Probably not golem sized.
No, definitely not.
All right.
Evacuate, Ganeth.
All right. I assume that takes me to the ship.
Yeah, so it takes you up to about right here and dumps you off. It is now raining really hard on top of this landing pad, and it's still very dark out. But some of the lights from this town and stuff are reflecting off of the wet surfaces and stuff around you.
Gotcha. I'm going to, as it lets me down, I'm going to pat it on the arm, and I'm going to thank it graciously.
Okay. And then it says, hurry.
And I hurry into the craft.
Okay. All right, so you go to get in. And you have trouble sitting in the seat with the pilot seat with Nerys, but you notice that there are a couple seats in the back there that are like not really seats, they're like half seats, and they have belts and buckles on them and stuff. And surprisingly, one of them has a baby carrier, like a car seat.
I'm going to attempt to put Nerys in the baby seat.
Okay, roll a performance check for me.
Yeah. I completely understand this because I probably haven't seen a baby seat. 17.
Okay, so you managed to put her in the baby seat. It seems pretty intuitive, and then the latch on the baby seat kind of magnetizes to the other end, and then the display at the front of the ship lights up about that time and just says, "Welcome, Tess. Your escape vessel is ready."
I'm going to, I don't know if it's listening, but I'm going to say, I'm going to get into the pilot seat, buckle myself up and say, "All right, let's go."
Okay, so as you go to get into the seat, you hear behind you a crashing sound as a golem hand comes through the back and rips the pilot seat out of the ship, barely missing Nerys, but pulling you and the seat out of the ship. And then, just as you get ripped out, you hear the voice inside saying, "Please state command." And
Go!
you get pulled out into into the street. You said go?
Yes, I yell go.
Okay. As you get yanked out by this golem hand, you're strapped into this seat that it pulls out of the thing. Ignition authorized, and the ship immediately closes up the back platform here and takes off. And you are now thrown out onto the wet pavement with the golem as baby Nerys is flown off in this ship.
And I assume, so what's the golem here doing?
The golem has thrown you to the ground and is now coming towards, like stepping towards you.
Right,
You are
I'm gonna
prone.
try to absorb it.
Okay, so you
Where's my friendly golem?
You don't see him.
I'm all right. I'm gonna keep absorbing this golem here, trying to back away.
Okay, so you go to absorb it, and as you're absorbing it, it starts to slow down, and it gets one punch off, and misses, and then it gets another punch off. It's right next to you. Damn. All right, so he goes to punch, and then the energy, you just finish off draining the energy, and he falls backwards, and his head kind of separates from his body and rolls over this way.
How big and heavy does the head look?
Probably about 30 pounds, maybe.
And how close is it to the ledge?
It's pretty close. Like, you could kick it down here if that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, in kind of in anger, I'm going to shove it off with my foot. Not kick it, because kicking rock sounds like a bad idea. But I'm going to shove it off.
Okay, and as you go to kick it, you realize that you recognize the damage on the top of the head as the same head of the friendly golem.
Okay.
So, it was the friendly golem. Okay, and then you are left in the rain. And you look up and you watch as the ship takes off with baby Nerys inside, and he sails off into the unknown in the sky, leaving you behind. And that's where we end this part of the session, as you suddenly are shaken awake and you find yourself in familiar surroundings. Here's the map. And let's see. Take away Tess.
So Superman story, huh?
Let's see, Tess. Hold on.
A Superman origin story.
There you go. There, now you can choose Marina. And you sent Nerys off. Well, I mean, it ended up that way, but you were certainly able to go had you survived your dexterity saving throw.
Well, whoever you was in that instance.
Yeah, true. And you find yourself awake in this chamber again. And hold on, where's my dungeon? There it is. So you're back in here again, and then Piritesh pulls her hand off of your head, and then she just says, "That is very helpful. Thank you."
What just happened?
I unlocked a memory deep within your mind, deep within your genetic code. You'd have no need to thank me. This is a gift you were previously unaware that you had. You carry the memories of your ancestors.
You mean Tess survived?
I'm sorry, Tess?
Whatever you did, for a while there, I was someone named Tess.
All of the memories of your ancestors travel along your genetic line. So, yes, whoever you were seeing must have survived.
I kind of look down and think for a bit. So, why would you show me this?
And suddenly Dragthar comes back to consciousness, and he just says, My faith is renewed. I knew you were the one true god, Piratesh. I dedicate my life to your service. What'd you say?
I said, why did you show me this?
I showed you this because I needed you to be aware of the memories in which you hold. As you travel around and do what I ask of you, I may find more of these ancient nodes where I can channel my energy into you and unlock more of your memory.
Thank you? I just look very visibly confused and not sure how to take this.
You will understand one day, young Marina. I am here for you, despite your suspicions. I care about your future.
I hope you can forgive me.
I forgive you. Of course. There is nothing to forgive. You are young. You are naive. I'm here to guide you.
Can you guide us to the pump?
Your conflict with the Dominion is up to you to resolve. But once you are done there, I look forward to seeing you in the Aarakocra region. Their people are in need of great help.
We'll help them as soon as we can. But first there were people here who are in more immediate danger, and we were trying to save them.
I understand. I will leave you to your petty mortal existence, and you can resolve your petty mortal problems. In the meantime, thank you, Marina. I needed that.
You needed what?
I mean, you needed that. That memory.
Can I make an insight check?
Yes.
Try to see if I can tell, like, any greater meaning from that.
Sure.
8.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. She seems... You get pretty much the same impression from her you've always gotten from her, that she's mysterious. You can't tell if she's good, bad, what her motivations are. She definitely does seem, as usual, like she's holding back or obfuscating the truth or something.
Before you go, what did you need?
I needed nothing but to reveal to you the truth. That is all I can tell you. For now. And then her hologram winks out of existence.
So I came out of this as skeptical as ever. Well, Marina did, I mean.
Alright, that's it. What'd you think?
I think the sound is still playing.
That is true. Now it's not.
That was a ride. I think it's just fascinating, both like in character and out of character. I'm thinking, wow. So you're implying to me, based on how, like, you know, existing and giving memories to others usually requires you to be alive. I'm kind of fascinated by the implication that Tess made it out of that alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it really interesting that it turned out to be a Superman origin story. Not of the baby necessarily, although that certainly sounds important, but of the towel.
Yeah, the towel's the one thing I knew you'd latch on to. For sure.
Now I'm just imagining, like, kind of like in Superman origin story or in Megamind, the story starting of that. It's just the same thing, the same events happening, but the camera's focusing on the towel, not the child.
Yep. Baby Nerys and his towel launched into space.
So, my first guess is that Nerys is like Marina's actual father.
That is a good guess.
Is that the correct guess?
I can't tell you.
I suppose I couldn't tell any like facial features that would turn out on the adult from the baby's face, huh?
Nah. All you knew was that it was a female, or excuse me, a male genasi with blue skin after the incident.
Do I, what kind of shade of blue was it?
Like Marina.
Same shade?
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so there you go. I'm going to go ahead and turn the stream off now.
Oh,
Thanks.
I thought you were gonna do a sign out.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to do one yesterday because I was so tired, or on Saturday, I mean. But,
so covered in whiskey.
yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. If nobody else signs up for a one-on-one session between now and Friday, then I think the next one is Thursday or Friday. Actually, let me look real fast while I have it open. Yeah, Friday. So the next one will be with Deranged, believe it or not. And we'll see you guys then. Thanks.